We have the lovely Jess Moskaluke on Pure Country. How are you, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you. You got a nice tan going on.
Yes, I feel very bronzed. I had to buy new foundation and everything, which what a
I put
shame.
so much bronzer on today because like I haven't seen the sun in a while, and I was like, I think I might have put too much, and then I'm like, I not enough, not enough.
No, never enough. Until you
Never
look
enough.
on the Zoom camera and you're
Yeah.
like, maybe that was enough.
Okay, so talk to me about the Hawaii trip because you may not know this, but Stephen and I have planned three failed trips to Hawaii for our wedding and
Oh,
still have not accomplished our Hawaii trip. So tell me all about yours.
well, now I feel awful telling you about mine. You guys do need to go. It will happen for you
Yeah,
eventually at
one day,
some
one
point.
day.
Do a big family trip. It was amazing. We went a little bit later in the year than we typically go this year, and I think we'll always do that now. The weather seemed like it was a little bit better, and yeah, it was good. Clay and I have both just been really busy, and so we just kind of needed some time to literally just run away and hang out for a couple weeks. So it was good. I'm refreshed, and I'm back and ready to take on the next few months.
If you been to Hawaii prior to that, or yeah?
Yeah, Clay and I used to, prior to the pandemic, he and I went pretty much every year for a couple of weeks. Both of our schedules are just so nuts. And of course, with like me being on the road, we don't really see a lot of each other, as silly as that sounds. So and we find if we just take a day off and we're at home, people are like, oh, Jess, I know you're off today, but can you blah, blah, blah. And oh, Clay, you're home. Great. Can we go and do this? And we're still being pulled in our separate directions. And
Right.
so we've kind of made a point to go somewhere every year, but we kind of just always find ourselves in Maui.
Uh, okay, well, when we do finally get to plan our trip, I'm gonna call you for all of the Hawaii tips.
I gotcha.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about not what to think right now because I have been living vicariously through your social media videos for this song because they are so, so funny. I have to ask about the one video you're in, I think the barn or the garage, and you're doing the like what people think you do after a show, which I think everyone out there thinks like every country artist gets off stage and you just like party all night long, but that's usually not the truth. But in that video, you're doing a lot of shots, and I just want to know what you were actually taking shots of in that because you were downing them pretty quick.
I was, yeah, definitely was not real hard alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, I was up in the barn. We have on our farm we have this like old barn that my father-in-law has fixed up beautifully. And so if we're gonna go and have a few drinks after work or whatever, we always kind of meet up in the barn. So I thought, well, we'll do our partying up here, but it was hey y'all. I was like, there's
Oh,
a
okay.
band here, and they had sponsored the last tour, and so I've got a bunch of it, and I was like, this is tasty and easy to shoot. And
It's so good. It's actually dangerous to drink though, because it tastes like juice. And then you have two of them and you're like, I may be drunk.
whoops. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was watching that video, I'm like, if that's like bourbon or fireball, that girl is tough.
No, I like kind of batched my content that day. So I was shooting a bunch of different things, and there was something else that required a drink. And I was like, well, if I just have like part of the drink there. So I think I had like, I don't even think I finished the whole can, but I was like, this is great. It looks like
That's
I'm
so funny.
partying, but I'm
Um,
still gonna have a chilled drink.
yeah, I know, now I want one of those hey y'alls because they're so good. Other question is because I feel like anyone who's seen you in concert, your outfits are always so good, and your boot game is like to die for. Have you ever actually gotten stuck in a pair of those boots? Because some of those look tricky to get off.
Yeah, like some of them don't have zippers.
Yeah.
I can think of three pairs off the top of my head that don't have zippers. No, the boys in my band are pretty well aware that is sometimes a part of their job description is removing boots from my feet.
They're
So
like one of you hold Jess back and the other's like
yeah,
yank on the boot.
exactly. No, I've never gotten stuck,
Okay, well,
thankfully.
I hope I don't want to jinx it. So we'll just hope that you have good luck with your boots going forward. Okay, new song we got to talk about. I've listened to it. I had a chance to actually listen to it before anyone else, which I'm so grateful for. But Heartbreaker. I always love when I read the title, I'm thinking like, okay, it's about this girl that's gonna, be breaking a bunch of hearts, but it's got this fun little twist that, when you get into a relationship, reassuring the person that like, I'm not going to be the heartbreaker that you've maybe had in the past. Was that your situation with Clay? Like, did he go through a bunch of heartbreak before you, and then you were like the good girl that came in?
Well, it was kind of me that was, it's interesting because this song was written as if that would be the case. So I could see why people would think, oh, maybe Clay was really,
Yeah.
heartbroken. It was actually kind of me, and I was kind of the one that had been in a relationship prior where I had been cheated on, and I was kind of like, how do I know? Like, I'm really into this guy, but how do I know he's not going to do the same thing? And so it was kind of interesting because when we were writing Heartbreaker, we took the alternate angle, but what I love is that I think that there are so many people that have trust issues, and so it was kind of, I don't want to say fun, but therapeutic in a way to
For
write
sure.
about those trust issues, and for me to be able to take a little bit of a further away approach by writing kind of the alternate story, because I think it's so common for us as women to write about how we've been damaged. But men can be too. So it was
Yeah.
kind of cool to write about the perspective of a female getting into a relationship with a man who has had some relationship trauma, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so relatable when you're listening to it, whether you're a guy or a girl, because I think that is like such a huge hurdle when you get into a new relationship is overcoming past traumas and not bringing them into your new relationship. Like Steven and I both went through that in different ways. But it's funny. I found myself in the song when I was listening to it, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be super helpful for people too. And mental health is something that you have really started, talking about more openly on social media, which I think a lot of people have become more comfortable talking about. Is that something you've always really have felt that was important in your life and took really seriously, or is it something you've maybe put at the top of your list as a priority more so now?
I think that it's something that I feel like I've been going through more in more recent years. I don't think that it's something, I'm very fortunate in that it hasn't really been something that all my life I've struggled with, depression or anxiety or anything like that. But in the last few years, for whatever reason, and maybe there isn't one, but I've struggled a lot more. And my story aside, something that I did a few months ago is we had kind of a candid chat with a therapist.
Oh,
My Yeah, my best friend just happens to be a licensed therapist, and she has her master's, and she's unreal. And it was really important to me. First of all, I was like, oh, well, how can I share? She's made this new Instagram page. I'm going to put a post up and share it because I think a lot of people would find that helpful. And then I thought, well, Belle Let's Talk Day is coming up, and the whole point is to start that conversation. So why not, instead of just sharing her page with everybody, why not actually have a conversation with her, and have other people join the conversation by submitting their comments, show them that therapy isn't scary, or it doesn't have to be as scary, and it can just be chatting with a friend.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just wanted to use my platform there, and I know that I've been getting free therapy from her for years.
I was going to say, how awesome is that your best friend also just happens to be a therapist?
Yeah, it's awesome for me. I don't know if she thinks that every time I call her with a problem, but
That's awesome. I know, and I loved that chat that you guys had, and it's still on Jess's Instagram page if you guys want to go check it out. But it just made me even go, oh, that's kind of what my therapy sessions look like with my therapist. So, it doesn't have to be this daunting, like walking into the therapist's office and you're having to like sit there and be quizzed on all the things going wrong in your life. It's just like sharing and getting it off your chest.
yeah, and at your own pace, which I think is
Yeah.
important too. Like, you can share, like, that's always the thing that's been hardest for me in choosing a therapist. And to be completely candid, I still haven't chosen one. It's the thing that's hard is jumping from therapist to therapist, and then thinking, "Ah, I have to share my story again, and I have to talk about this thing that was hard again." But you can do that at your own pace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Maddie is awesome at what she does, and she takes clients via Zoom. So if you do, here's the free plug for her. But if you do watch the conversation we had on my Instagram channel, she is taking clients on Zoom. So if you think she might be someone up
Ah,
your alley, yeah, definitely.
super cool. I love that. All right. Well,
Yeah.
if you need some musical therapy, you can go listen to Jess Moskaluke's new single. It's called Heartbreaker. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining me on Pure Country.
Thank you. Nice to see you.